It's so important to wait for just that moment to die when you don't hear the piano anymore. Thank you, Gavin, for starting us off in such a good way. I have to say that I look out at your faces and I am filled with joy and love to see you all here. Thank you for coming and trusting us this morning. Welcome, welcome to Calgary Unitarians, and happy Father's Day, everyone. Today and on all the other days, may we give thanks for fathers, papas, pop-pops, dads, and daddies who represent for us the steadfast presence that holds us in love and launches us into the world, whether we encounter it when we are small or already grown. I'm the Reverend Samaya Oakley, and it's my honor and delight and privilege to serve you as your minister, and I use she, her, and hers for my pronouns. On this day that we set aside to acknowledge the importance of the role of fathering in our lives, let us be mindful that for many Indigenous peoples, the role of fathering is complicated. The physical and emotional scarring that happened as people were physically and emotionally, let me repeat that sentence. The physical and emotional scarring that happened as people were torn away from their families and communities and then left as residential school survivors. Connections with families, communities, and cultures were lost. Neglected and abused communities, neglected and abused survivors suffered immeasurably as they returned to their communities after their release. Many were unable to form relationships or function in healthy ways. As Treaty 7 people who are in relationship with the Blackfoot Confederacy in Districts 5 and 6 of the Otipemisiwak Métis government, we take time to acknowledge the impact of this on a people, on a culture, and in our society today. I also acknowledge that it is important that we take time to be mindful of those for whom this is a day that is complicated, irrelevant, or even downright ugly. Amid the complex feelings that this day brings for any one of us, we need to acknowledge that some of us are feeling joyful, others are feeling hurt, loss, or grief, and others of you might be feeling feelings that are somewhere in between, holding that complexity. It is for this reason that on this day I invited Trevor Williams, and he's sitting over there. Wave, Trevor. He's our speaker today, and he works as the men's engagement coordinator from Zwozdesky, an organization that works at getting at a complex issue like domestic and sexual abuse and sexual or exploitation, or disrupting the structures of abuse. And that requires an understanding of how change actually happens. I first met Trevor at an Alliance Foundations training, I think it was back in November, and we've been meeting over coffee and exploring this topic a great deal. And considering that I'm a cisgender, white, heterosexual woman, I did not think I could really speak to the topic of the divine masculine. And that's why I invited Trevor to bring that voice forward. So you're going to hear a conversation between us today. It's unscripted. We know where it begins and we know where it ends, and the rest is, you'll just go along with us on the journey. So we often hear of toxic masculinity, and yet rarely do we take time to reflect on and begin the work of looking at what the divine masculine is. The work of healing from wounds that this leaves us with. So may we remember to see and revel in the people of all genders who love and support and nurture and parent and father. May our gratitude for the good and the healthy be a balm for the places of pain. May it point us in the direction of more truth-telling and more healing, more love, and more connection on this Father's Day and on all the other days. With that, let us prepare our hearts and our minds for worship.
As Nous Ensemble is getting themselves on stage here, I just wanted to let you know very quickly about two musical events that are coming up the next 2 Sundays. So next Sunday is our commemorative concert in honor of Jane Perry. We've got 3 choirs, an array of special guest performers joining us, and it's just going to be a magical event. So tickets are on sale in Wickenden after the service. And then I also wanted to let you know about our good old-fashioned hymn sing on June 30th, which is your chance to sing a hymn that maybe we haven't for a while, or that we don't that you want to really do. So please send your hymn requests to me at music@calgaryunitarians.ca, and you have until Thursday. Thank you so much. Please enjoy, and music will lead us by Victor C. Johnson.
Good morning, everyone. Hope you can hear me. First thing I would like to acknowledge, thank you for the large font in my script.
I've done this once or twice.
Chalice Lighting. My name is Alberto Cipriano, and my pronouns are he and him. I am honored to be your service reader this morning, for this morning's service. And being here gives me an opportunity to be open-minded and open my heart in community with you. Our Chalice Lighting words this morning come from Mark Alstrom. This is our religious home. We bring to this place our greatest strengths, our doubts, our fears, and all the mysteries unknown and unfathomed. What is this golden flame that binds us to all that has been, all that is here and now, and that will ever be? Dare we to hope the greatest hopes? Dare we build them on the foundation of our love and will? Here the sacred flame is light. Here the tender soul yearns. Here the sacred flame burns. It is formless, yet ethereal. It flashes into the depths of our souls, filling us with what we seek. It warms what was cold. It lights what was dark. It speaks what we long to hear. It touches what needs to be touched, so be it forever.
Please rise in body or spirit as we sing together our opening hymn, number 1010, Oh, We Give Thanks. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for our gathered here and our far away, for this time we
I almost forgot I'm doing the hand mic today. I'm Director of Religious Education, Sheila MacMaster, and my pronouns are she and her. And happy Father's Day to all the dads, the not yet dads, the stepdads, the moms who are dads, the adoptive dads, the granddads, and the dads who are no longer with us. And this is a special day of recognition, remembrance, and with the knowledge, as Reverend Samaya mentioned, that all relationships can be complicated. And to honor dads of all kinds today, we'll have a make-your-own Sunday station out in Wickenden. So the kids will be making Sundays for their dad that they have to eat. And I see some of your parent faces. But the nice thing is the ice cream station is open to everyone. So I have some wonderful helpers from the men's group, and they're going to be helping me serve ice cream today, so I'm very excited about that. And I also have, of course, a story for all of you today, and I think this is a very important message for Father's Day. The story is called Tough Guys Have Feelings Too by Keith Negley. All right. It's not always easy being a tough guy. You might not think it, but tough guys have feelings too. Even when they're with their best friends. Even when they're on top of the world. Not everything works out. And this can be very frustrating. No matter how strong, or fast, or brave they are, that's the fast one, or how brave they are, it's coming. Or how brave they are, everyone has feelings. That's right. And it is okay to show them. Just like these tough guys who love each other very much. The end. And so this week's challenge is to reach out to the dad or dad figure in your life. It could be a phone call, a visit, a letter you never send, or a prayer. And think about how you may be important in someone else's life, your own child, grandchild, neighbor, or friend, or spend time with someone in need of a positive male role model. Male role is a train set. There's such a need for this kind of connection. And there's a great quote I have from a man about feelings. It affirms this. Men have feelings too. For instance, sometimes we feel hungry. Actually, I have a quote from Brene Brown I would like to offer. It says, "You are imperfect, you are wired for struggle, but worthy of love and belonging." May we love those nearest and dearest to us today. And now please join me as we sing the flame of our light downstairs to the children.
We hold you in our love as you go, as you go. May we hold you in our love as you go. To nurture the spark of your precious life. We hold you in our love as you go. We hold you in our love as you go, as you go. We hold you in our love as you go. To nurture the spark of your precious life. We hold you in our love as you go.
Can you hear me well? Very well. This month, as we celebrate the resurgence of Indigenous culture, our 4 others this month will go to the Bear Clan Patrol. Bear Clan was a dream to take back the streets led by Indigenous people. For the people who form and volunteer with Bear Clan, it is a way of life, a feeling, a family, and a whole vibe that they all belong to. They show up when they can. They organize their team, they gather, they prepare, they safely patrol. They honor those whom they encounter, and they honor where they are in their healing journey. They share the medicine of hope, love, acceptance, recovery, and protection. If this is where you would like to direct your offering, please indicate for others in the message with your e-transfer or the offering envelope. In just a moment, the ushers will be passing the offering basket. As it makes its way to you, please take a moment and hold the basket for just half a second, being conscious of its feel in your hands, and then place your contributions into it. Whether you have a few loose coins, a bill, or by taking a moment to send your gratitude to the work of the Bird Clan Patrol and to this congregation and its many ministries. If you're new here, please let the basket pass by you, as your presence is a gift to us this morning. If you're looking for ways to contribute your time, your energy, your talent to our beloved community, please stop by the membership table in our Barker room and let us know. The gifts of the congregation will be most gratefully received.
There is so much joy and so much love in this room. Thank you for being here. Each of us comes into this place with joys and concerns resting on our hearts, be they for family, for friends, or the wider world. We're going to do something a little different, and in the spirit of a seated meditation or prayer, I invite you to name aloud, softly, loudly, however it is that you are called, or even in the silence of your hearts, those people, those places, and those concerns that are with you today.
Water.
Rain.
And we light this candle in recognition of all of the unspoken joys and concerns in our midst. And this is for all of the concerns. And we light this candle of global concern today for all of those who are working so hard to create peace in so many war-torn areas around the world. May all that has been shared here strengthen and renew the bonds of this beloved community. Over time, I have come to believe in the power of being together in community, in silence. Somehow, when we are in silence together, there comes alive a sense or a binding together of who we are with our breath. Breathing in and breathing out, we become one calm body, connected to each other by our breath. In just a few short moments, we'll do exactly that. After I offer up a reading or prayer, you get to choose however it is that you define what I'm doing. We'll sit together in silence for 2 minutes, and we'll come out of silence with our hymn number 184, Be Ye Lamps. You can allow the music to just wash over you, bringing you back here. If you have a busy mind, you can start singing along with Gavin and Krishan. You get to choose. The words will be projected for you. So let us breathe together. Breathing in and breathing out. As we become one with our breath and through our breath, let us bring into awareness this day that is Father's Day. Let us breathe into what all of that means to us. We breathe out love for those who have lost fathers and for those fathers who have lost children. We acknowledge and hold non-binary, transgender, and cisgender dads in families made of 2 dads, foster and adoptive dads, and single dads. We hold and work to lift up all fathers of color and those fathers raising children of color. We hold fathers kept apart from their children by borders and war. We hold fathers and children who have lost connection, children who have been disowned, or abandoned by their fathers and the father figures who step in. We hold those longing to become fathers. We hold those who may be full of questions about their biological fathers. And most importantly, we hold and thank the dads, the papas, the daddies, and all who show up every day to give their all to the children who need them. Human relations are complicated. These days of recognition are complex. So in this time of silence, breathe in what serves you and breathe out that which does not.
Be lambs unto yourselves, be your own confidence, hold to the truth within yourselves, as to the only Lamb. Be lambs unto yourselves, be your own confidence, hold to the truth within yourselves, as to the only Lamb. Be lambs unto yourselves, be your own confidence, hold to the truth within yourselves, as to the only Lamb. No, that's okay. I'll go over.
You'll go ahead? Okay, thanks. How is this? Can you all hear us and see us? So this started a little bit because I was telling Trevor that I really see our Sunday services as an opportunity where we get to have a conversation about the things that really matter to us. And one of the ways in which I do that is I pay attention to what you're talking about. A couple weeks ago, Heather Walker, who many of us know in the congregation, she was preparing to attend a meeting of the International Unitarian Universalist Women's Association's meeting. And she does what wise people do in such occasions. She asked people what needed to be lifted up. And Jen Allure, and I have her permission, so don't worry, I don't out you without your permission. She responded this way when the women's group was asked. She said, "We need men to wake up to their collective trauma and to start looking at their pain so that maybe they'll stop sliding into sexist anger, leading to abuse, addictions, etc., and start learning how to be properly present in relation with women and girls." That really hit me. What do you think, Trevor? What's your response to that?
When I think of that idea of the collective trauma, I think of the collective stories that we've gathered around in our communities that define sort of how we're to act out gender in our day-to-day lives, right? How we're to think and behave, and the way that through those stories we give permission for some types of ways of being, some types of expressions and behaviors, and then others we sanction firmly within one another, and how that can culminate in some of that pain that leads to that, right? That we would call that trauma. And it just makes me wonder about having these opportunities. Like I've loved the themes so far, and thank you for having me here this morning, first of all. But the themes from the one song that the choir had sung about going to the future with courage, right? About standing up, like not going in with fear, but having that courage. It was a powerful message of exploring some of these questions about the stories we're telling ourselves, the stories we believe, the ones that maybe we haven't spent time reflecting on and asking about.
You know, I was thinking, I went back and I wondered how we got to this place. I mean, the early biblical scriptures talk about how we were made in the image of God, how we are each divine beings. And as early Christian theologians started to look at the transformative power or process of becoming one with God or the divine, or theosis, that's Lisa, you were talking about the $5 word or the $1 million word last night. That's that word today, theosis. And that's that process of becoming divine. They struggled with the role of Eve and her fall. And in the book Saving Paradise by our Unitarian Universalist theologian, the Dr. Reverend Rebecca Parker, tells us that when elite men entered Christian life, they incorporated the classic Roman virtues into theosis. These virtues defined manliness through the ideas of courage, control, and dispassion, and they were often mixed with the Greek ideas of the power of the masculine, nous, I think that's how you pronounce it, N-O-U-S, which is the mind, over the feminine, which is the atheists, A-E-S, thesis, which is sense. The pattern set down for the Western worldview is one where the idea of theosis, or the transformative power of becoming one with God, was infected with notions of masculinity as mastery of the body and its desires. Submission to God justified men's efforts to define and control women's bodies and souls. That's where it starts, but you were going to bring it into Canada, right? And talk about terror. I mean, that's just at the beginning. And now we're going to look at the formation of who we are as a country.
Yeah, absolutely. And when it comes to these stories that we're talking about, there is that bedrock that's integral to understand. In our society, we sometimes have a short-sighted view of how history and the conversations that have been set historically still move around within us and in our institutions and in the stories we tell about ourselves and our communities and the people that we live in. And so in the Canadian context, I first want to frame some of the Canadian history around Emile Durkheim's idea of totemism, which he basically said that societies will organize around the divine and the creator, reflecting the values of that society built in a totem. And I think there's a theological type of totemism that also occurs, and it's within the Roman, Greek, and Hebraic mindset, where we also are in that sort of history of that type of theological totemism. There's a lot of privilege within there that's been framed as being equal for a long time, when in fact it was quite white, male, cisgendered, Christian dominated. And in that sense, the doctrine of discovery and terra nullius are some of the sort of colonial frameworks of specifically racist and misogynistic ways of collecting the world up. There was about 7 countries that colonized most of our world today, and the doctrine of discovery was a theological premise. A papal bull is the term that was used to describe it, when the Pope would declare what authority was going to be given to those going around the world to basically have a finders keepers sort of view of land, and then terra nullius was the asterisks for if there are people already on the land, if they're not Christian and they're not using it properly, you can take it. And so it's these kinds of frameworks that built on that idea of conquering and that idea of sort of that stoic gendered role, that idea of dispassionate engagement in life, that set that next layer of bedrock for where we are in Canada. And that idea has fundamentally built in our entire legal system based upon it, right? Every legal decision has been based on doctrine of discovery and terra nullius in one way or another. And so in that, we have to recognize that there is those privileges baked within what we know today as Canada, in our institutions and the way we're talking about things. And a part of what we get to do is do that deconstructing work of asking where that lives, how it operates, and how we can, how it impacts us in our day-to-day lives, how it impacts the people we love and care about, and how we can grow from there, right? And the big question is then back to the theological totemism of how do we talk about the Creator with these same type of ideas that are often quite simplified in little boxes. And we're talking about the cosmos, this infinite vastness, the one or the ones who can make that vastness. And those boxes sometimes lose that awe and wonder to be able to really engage with that.
Yeah, you know, that sense of manning up, there's Jonathan Higgins, he was interviewed by Krista Tippett on Being, and he talked about how this idea of masculinization of young men begins before they even start to have a sense of self. It becomes the water in which we swim in. And this happens even before they have a developmental capacity to even understand the binary, and that's gender versus performance of gender. Because what it means to be a man continues to be grounded in oppression, marginalization, and white supremacy. And here we are, like centuries later, learning about what the cost of that way of thinking is, right? The cost of so many lives. I watch young boys. For many of you that know, I did youth ministry for 15 years, and I watched our young men in those youth programs struggle with their place in the world, trying to grow into their authentic sense of who they were becoming their best vision of themselves in the face of these constant messages to man up. And it broke my heart when I saw it happen time and time again. And it breaks my heart when I hear stories of fathers in the playground who, when a child is in need, will not go to the aid of that child, but instead will look for a woman to go to the aid of the child. Those are the realities in which we're living in. And how is it that we can really live into the divine of who we are, where everything is possible? And so with that, we're going to have our choir, UUphonia, do just that. Sing the song, Everything Possible.
Testing, yeah. Okay. We've cleared off the table, leftovers saved, washed the dishes and put them away. I've told you a story, tucked you in tight at the end of your workabout day. As a moon sets its sails to carry you to sleep over the midnight sea, I will sing you a song no one sang to me. May it keep you good company. Oh, you can be anybody you want to be. You can love whomever you will.
Hello.
There we go.
There it is. So I appreciated that last thought that you had shared before the musical break about what's the picture like today then. We've talked a lot about ancient foundations, history from the last few centuries. Why are we talking about this today, right? 2024. A part of the reason is that in the work that I'm doing, we do workshops around Alberta in faith communities, trade and tech schools, places where a lot of times these basic conversations, even of like how do we live these stories of gender in our lives, aren't happening typically, or there's even an aversion towards them. So we're trying to normalize those conversations because men have an interesting position in the world today where we both experience this power from certain privilege that we have and a vulnerability as well. It's not just power, right? And around the term privilege, I just want to clarify that privilege doesn't mean that your life is great. It just means that having certain identities hasn't made your life harder, right? So we know that men are targeted less identity-wise through legislation, through gender-based violence, through these kinds of things. And so compared to trans and queer people who will experience abuse at very high rates, even compared to women who will experience it higher than men, but men also will experience abuse as well. So we know that everyone that we love is being impacted by how we've defined gender in our society. We know that men have a 3 times higher likelihood to suicide than women do. And a part of it is these stories that we tell, right? The stories that have been passed down to us about how we're to act in the world. A part of it, I think, happens when we're on the playgrounds. I've met people from around the world. One gentleman, he's a UFC professor from Pakistan, and he was telling me a very similar story he had when he was a boy on the playground about how he hurt himself one day when he was 5 or 6 years old. And he was trying to express that, and his friends told him to not be a girl, to not be a wimp, to not be all sorts of names. I had a similar experience here in Calgary at Colonel J. Fred Scott in the Northeast, where I grew up. And so this idea that these stories of how we tell ourselves how to act out in gender, they're not universal, we wouldn't use that language, but they're common, and common enough, I think, as a part of, we saw a handful of nations have brought a lot of similar stories to many parts of the world, and so because of that, we're able to have those kind of common conversations and understandings. And the reason why it's so important is because none of us are doing great. Everyone is vulnerable to this power, that men are inflicting violence upon men are inflicting violence upon women, men are inflicting violence upon trans people, and we know that there's lateral violence as well that occurs, right? And that it's not just always one way, but there's tendencies, right? When we look at bigger patterns, sort of how these behaviors are going. And so we have opportunities to ask ourselves, how have these stories been formed within us? Where do we need to find healing from, right? What are those messages that we've heard before? And how can we go forward in normalizing conversations? And one of the reasons it's important is because these issues of abuse are happening in all different kinds of communities, so settler, newcomer, Indigenous communities, and all different kinds of institutions as well. So faith communities, educational communities. The Calgary Stampede just this year wrapped up a class action lawsuit where one of their coaches for the young Canadians, he had abused many boys over 3 decades, and it came out after he was in trial and got sent to prison. It came out that the Stampede knew about it in the 80s, and they didn't do anything. And I like to hope that they didn't know how, rather than they just turned a blind eye. But neither answer is okay, right? Neither answer is okay. Like, if we don't know how, then we have to come together, which is the themes that we've been hearing today, and have hard conversations, right? We have to be able to talk about it. Because had the Stampede been able to act, maybe multiple boys wouldn't have experienced that kind of trauma afterwards, right? Harm could have been prevented. And that's a part of the hope in doing what we're doing about preventing harm by having hard conversations and ones that we maybe haven't grown up talking about.
And I think with that, there comes the idea that we need to be brave enough to stop the thing when the thing is happening. I was recently at an event and somebody got up and there were tech issues. It happens. We know that. We're waiting to fill time and the person who had the mic said, "Oh, does anybody have a joke they'd like to share?" And one person got up and put his hand up and said, "Yes, I do have a joke," and came up and first off, if you're going to start off a joke with, "I probably shouldn't be saying this," you probably shouldn't be saying it, right? He started off that way and told a very sexist joke. What ended up happening is that people in the community just did not know how to respond and ended up shunning him for the rest of the day. That happens, right? We don't know what to say, so we're not going to say anything, and we're going to pretend it doesn't happen, and I'm just going to pretend you're not there. I had breakfast with him for some reason, I got tapped. Samaya, go talk to him. So I went and talked to him over breakfast the next morning. And it's being brave enough to have those conversations to say, let's slow this down a moment. Let's unpack this. Let's talk about why this is harmful. Let's talk about the impact of this. And we have to have courage, and we have to be brave, and yet we know that we can do it. And I think we're going to end there. We're hoping that this is the beginning of many conversations that we will have on this topic. We're going to close with this. So we're going to end with our song, "Courage, My Friends. You do not walk alone." Thank you, Trevor.
I invite you to rise in body or spirit, and the words are going to be up here on the screen. Now, there's 3 verses, and we're going to do them slow, then medium, and then fast. And so that's how it's going to work here. Can I have a D? And so I'm going to start it off, and you guys can call back to me. 2, 3. Courage. Courage. My friend. My friend. You do not walk alone. We will walk with you, and sing your spirit home. Just as my friend, you do not walk alone. We will walk with you, and sing your spirit home. Freedom, my friend, you do not walk alone. No, we will walk with you, and sing your spirit home. Thank you.
Oh, my dear ones, as we take our leave from this sacred space that we create together, let us move into the world restored by our connection with one another, our sense of hope, beauty, and fun in this world, our deep knowing that we have to take care of ourselves and each other with love and joy so that we can soulfully survive the world's mayhem.
We have been blessed this morning by who we are and by the hope and promise inherent in the beloved community we build here. Remember that hope and promise. Remember that you are a unique and needed part of it. Life is beauty. tell its story. Go in peace. Carry the light. Please join us in our next week as we take time to consider the question of land acknowledgements and why they matter. Our guest speaker is Elder and Knowledge Keeper Cheryl Chagnon Grace. Right after the postlude plays, feel free to click on a new Zoom link if you're attending online so that you can engage in conversations with people there. If you are here in person, please join us in Wickenden Hall for coffee and conversation.
And ice cream sundae.
That's right. And now, let's wave to those who are attending online.